sitting with me is Akshay. Akshay, as you know, is the founder of Slikk, which is into fast fashion, quick commerce, and they are building for Gen Z and millennials, and you will see a lot of fashion brands on their app, and they promise to deliver styles in probably 60 minutes, and they're doing it faster than you can imagine. I think to start with, Akshay, probably you can help us with your background as to why this idea even come into the picture. What was your thought process when you were in the initial stages of thinking about Slikk?
It's a Friday evening. I'm not even sure what you guys are doing over here, but interesting. For a quick intro, I am a Delhi boy. I sort of grew up in Noida, if you guys know the place. Then fundamentally did not like Delhi at all. Landed up in Bangalore. Been here for about 10 years. Started my journey. I studied here at Christ. Then ended up joining a very early age company as the first employee of a startup called Purpule. It was a retail tech SaaS company. Ended up heading their India and Southeast Asia business. That eventually, luckily, that company got acquired by Amazon India in the worst of the times. That was COVID, because retail and SaaS was going down like crazy. Just lucky enough for Amazon to come and rescue us. Then, as a part of that acquisition, was at Amazon for a little bit, leading GTM for one of their verticals, which is fundamentally, that's where it actually clicked to me and my co-founder Vipin that, hey, the consumer behavior and the consumption pattern is sort of changing. If customers want their groceries in 10, I think they do not want a more horrendous experience than waiting for 5 days for their clothes. And not just clothes, in e-commerce space, we call them soft line and hard line categories, if some of you know. So soft line would fundamentally include your accessories, footwear, fashion, home decor, small case, suitcases, luggages, etc. Right? So you wouldn't want to wait maybe 5 days, 6 days, etc. for these categories. And that's where we saw this uptick that, hey, you know what, if you bring the same SKU or the same article, let's say from Mokobara, down from 5 days delivery to a single day delivery on Amazon, right? The behavior of a customer towards that article just changes, it flips, right? That's where the idea came in and we started experimenting. I would still say that we're still very young and still experimenting. So, still out there, it's just been about 3 months since we launched, so still hoping for the best.
But I would like to say that they started with a bang. They already have around, I think, 2.5 crores of investment that they have raised from Meta Capital and some untitled ventures. So round of applause for him and their team for have already done that. What was the idea behind naming it Slikk? Why?
I think my sister reached out to me saying that Slikk, I'm not a Gen Z, my sister is. She reached out to me saying that Slikk means fashionable, something if you wear something fashionable, that's Slikk.
Yeah.
Slikk domain wasn't available, SLICK, so jo available tha le liya. So that's how Slikk came into play.
Very interesting. You talked about Gen Z, and catering to Gen Z is very important in current market, especially with the kind of numbers that we are seeing. For some of you who haven't read this report, I would like you to go and jump into this report by Snapchat and BCG, where they've talked extensively about how Gen Z is shaping the next market in India, especially. What is your game plan for Gen Z? Because not everybody is able to crack the Gen Z code. They function differently. What is your understanding of the Gen Z crowd that is existing in India, especially? And probably in Bangalore, because you're currently more specific to Bangalore. What are some of the trends that you've seen in Gen Z that are very interesting, especially with respect to the fashion?
I think we're not just trying to solve for Gen Z, I think millennial plays a very key role in the TG we're solving for as well. The only difference, and I think the opportunity to tap on, is that, and this is a very interesting study wherein it says that in US, for crowd under 25, 50% of their overall income is, especially for women over here, is spent on fashion and BPC, that is beauty and personal care. So if a woman, I don't know if it's the same thing to do, sorry, I'm a man, I don't spend so much on these things, but then if a person is spending 50% of their overall income on soft line as a category, then there is a massive opportunity and I mean for both D2C brands and marketplaces to tap on, right? And that is what we're trying to discover over here. If not 50%, even if it's 30%, right? And let's say anybody sitting over here, any female sitting over here, if I open her Nykaa or a Myntra, I would at least see 2 to 3 transactions in this month itself, right? I'm sure I'm not wrong over here. So the idea is that can we change the CX, that is customer experience, in this purchase cycle and make it more efficient and make it much more safer, better, faster for the customer? So in fashion, we say that your entire P&L is divided in between 4 steps. One is your selection, which you carry on the platform, which is basically कि आपको कपड़े या फिर accessories अच्छी लग रही है कि नहीं. Second is your delivery, third is your return, fourth is your refund, right? So if you talk about any traditional marketplace today, right, even if you want to purchase from, let's say, a particular brand's website, I think Blue Orange is very hot these days for youngsters, right, if I'm not wrong. But you would still be scared of purchasing from a brand's Shopify website. There's a big reason for it. You would be like, यार return उठाएंगे कि नहीं उठाएंगे, पैसे अटक जाएंगे, right? 10 दिन तक return नहीं उठाएंगे, call करते रहो, परेशानी होगी. This is why marketplaces thrive, right? Myntra is somewhere you trust, Amazon you trust, right? Similarly, we come into the play and say that, hey, you know what? If you order something on a traditional marketplace of fashion, let's say you order something from Soul Store and something from Nike, each item is going to come to you, and let's say one item is going to come to you in 4 days, one item is going to come to you in 5 days. Then each item's return request will have to happen separately. Each item's refund will have to happen separately, which is overall a 7 to 14 day cycle. We are saying that, hey, you know what, the delivery is going to happen within 60 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. The return is going to happen the same day as you book a return, and your return and your refund is also going to happen the same day, which makes the entire transactional experience much more safer, much more efficient for a customer, right? And once you do that, you have no reason to go back to any other platform or a D2C website to purchase. Which is why a lot of D2C brands are sort of coming towards and supporting quick commerce in general, even fashion as a category, right? Which is not an immediate need category.
I'm not sure if my numbers are right, but from what I've read, you're now catering to around 500 orders a day, or more than that maybe.
I have no clue about these numbers. These are not true numbers.
These are not true, yeah. But can you walk us through like the first order that got placed and what was the sentiment within the team? And from there, like, you know, how did you guys probably anticipate the scale at which the orders are going to flow in your app?
Sure. So I think the first 3 deliveries were done by me and my co-founders only, and thankfully I think 2 of them were in HSR, where our dark store really is. I think we intended to go live in September, but there was this interesting idea my marketing team had that, you know what, we should do some early signups. We created this reel. I remember something called as founder-led marketing. Even I don't understand marketing to say in general, but so they made me do a reel and we launched it out, and it actually blew up like crazy. That why is somebody doing quick delivery in fashion, right? All the influencers, everybody in Bangalore. I think in just 2 days we had about 8 lakh views on that reel, and we just had one form on the website saying that if you want to avail like a early 500 bucks discount, just enter your email ID and phone number. We'll let you know when we're going live. We had about 10,000, 11,000 signups in like 2-3 days on that website, and we took our web and app live. Actually, not app. We just took our web live in August for 2 hours. That's it, and we did about 80 orders that day. And that was actually very crazy for me to see that we were expecting 2 orders, 3 orders in a day. It actually blew up, and that is how our first set of orders sort of came in August in that 2.5 hour sort of cycle.
So that was a custom web that you built, or you built it on Shopify itself, or how was the process?
I would never in my life use Shopify, but okay, to each his own. I think Shopify is great. I don't know, are we supposed to talk about tech over here?
We can. I'm sure we are free to do all of this.
Just FYI, I'm not a techie. I'm a purebred business guy. I've done mechanical. I'm not an SD at all, but I understand a few things. I think Shopify is a great way if you want to do a quick launch, and if you're a brand. I think it's a very scalable platform if you're a brand per se, but not really if you're a tech company I think Shopify blocks you out, Magento, Shopify, etc. blocks you out
WooCommerce. Yeah.
in a lot of ways around promotions engine and around a lot more things around customization of homepage and a lot more things around it, right? Performance of the app, etc. So I think we have our own tech team, so we custom build sort of everything.
So one of the most important factors when somebody is purchasing from say a marketplace or a website as well, they are very conscious about where their money is going and the trust, like you said. And you're competing with the likes of say Myntra that is also doing I think almost same day delivery now. How do you convince your customer to come back to you again and again? What is the retention strategy that you guys are putting in place to bring them back and increase your AOVs?
One, Myntra is not doing same day deliveries, just FYI, guys. But
I think they're venturing into the same day delivery, if I'm right.
of course, everybody wants to, right? I think if you look at 2021 to 2023, right, and you have to give Zepto and Blinkit some credit. I think the way they've humbled the market, right? I think there was so much bad chatter about quick commerce, unit economics, chalega, nahi chalega. I think the way Zepto and Blinkit and Instamart came in and humbled everybody down, right? I think there's nothing better than that. And they actually proved that if you're working heavily towards solving for customer experience, right? And I think in India per se or in any country, right? There are two, three things which are very valuable to a customer, right? One is your serviceability, second is value for money. India especially thrives on value for money and serviceability. They want both in one shot, right? So Zepto and Blinkit are able to do that, right? That opened the market to a lot more opportunities, and India in general. There's always been space for horizontal players and vertical players, right? What that means is, if you go back to 2010 and 2011, right? 2010, 28, 29, 2010 is when Flipkart was thriving, right? And expanding categories. 2011 is when Myntra launched. And Amazon already had plans to enter India around 2013 and 2014. Everybody said, "Kya chalega yaar, kya kapde bechte hain?" Amazon fashion was already crazy big in US, right? But Myntra lived, Nykaa lived, and they actually made a sustainable business, right? So for me, I think the space is the same right now. We're working towards ensuring serviceability is there for customers, value for money is there for customers in terms of what they purchase in a vertical format, and that's the same story that we follow.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Zepto, Blinkit. I think they're also eyeing for fashion categories. There was some partnership that they did with Urban Fashions, and then, how do you see, these people who have now deep pockets, entering into the fashion game? Is it a boon for you, or is it going to be a tight race?
I would say it's validation for us. First players to come in and launch this category, and then the larger players like Myntra, Zepto, Nykaa coming in and doing this. I think it's just pure validation for what we're really trying to do. And India has never been a single player market, right? I think India, if you look at BPC in general, BPC sold by so many companies, right? There's Nykaa, there's Purple, there's Myntra selling it, there's Zepto selling it, there's Blinkit selling it. But has Zepto really affected Nykaa's business? Probably not, right? And the business and the categories, larger players look into, especially from I mean, this is what I feel, my personal opinion, they're a more grocery-led business. So I think everybody would thrive, and there is a lot of space for multiple vertical players to exist in quick commerce in India, not just Slikk. So not just Slikk, if Slikk really thrives, I think one or two more players would come in to this segment.
And in terms of expanding it to different cities as well, I'm sure there must be some PRD pipeline where you're planning to enter into other cities. What are your thoughts about entering into tier 2 and tier 3 markets of India? How do you see them panning out?
Not for the next 3 years, I would say. I think for us, Bombay is the next city we're targeting. And I think for the next 2 to 3 years, we'll continue focusing on tier 1 cities in general, and then maybe tier 2 cities after that.
Got it. Now let's talk about what's the value for the merchants that you are onboarding, apart from of course the convenience and the flexibility of delivering it within 60 minutes. What other values is Slikk adding for the brands, the likes of Soul Store or Freakins who are part of your app marketplace?
Revenue. I think everybody runs after revenue. There is no other Isapeta answer for that. But one
I mean,
thing,
any interesting case study?
yeah. So I feel quick commerce in fashion is going to thrive better than traditional marketplace. Is fundamentally around a term called stock turn. Are you guys aware what stock turn is? Let me explain it to you, right? So let's say Calvin Klein as a brand or a Tommy as a brand, right? It's not that they produce products every single month, right? They plan their supply a year before, months before, right? And they source a number of SKUs, right? And they have to. And fashion runs in a model of something called as season, right? 3 महीने का season, 6 महीने का season, etc. Right? So you have to sell a minimum amount of inventory every season to be a profitable business. राइट दैट इज कॉल्ड स्टॉक टर्न कि आपने कितना माल एक सीजन में बेचा या नहीं बेचा राइट सो वी एज अ प्लेटफॉर्म ऑलरेडी आर सीइंग 2x 3x higher stock turns than regular marketplaces and offline plays, right? Which makes us more efficient. That means that any brand which is putting in products on our marketplace and our dark store will actually sit with lesser dead stock than what they see with other marketplaces on their own or on their own D2C platforms as well. Which is why it's a very exciting play for platforms. अगर आप general numbers देखोगे for premium brands, right? Premium brands in general have a 6-month stock turn. At least some. Generally it's a 3-month season, but then in general they have a 6-month stock turn. Right? Now in 6 months stock turn, the most optimal brands in general on an average sell about 50 to 60% of their inventory in 6 months. Right? The rest goes into clearance sale. यहाँ पे आप H&M के store पे जाके 50%, 60%, 70% पे खरीदते हो. And the rest of the inventory moves into the next year. Right? On our platform, we see a 80 to 90% stock turn in less than 3 months. That means any amount of inventory or the inventory amount which we as a platform are picking up from a brand, we're able to sell 80 to 90% of it within 3 months, which is the most optimized number in India per se, which is why we feel quick commerce has a larger impact on fashion and that makes it all the way more exciting for the brand from the supplier.
Interesting. You talk about dark stores, and I read this that for Blinkit, say, to crack the code of dark store, they want a certain dark store to do 1,000 orders per day. How is it like for you, like the business model? Is it around dark store profitability, or is it a different, way to look at it?
I think, okay, I think there's an interesting more than I think what you're talking about. The term we should be talking about is called SPSF. It's called sales per square feet. That's the holy grail for every store, every dark store, everything in this world. SPSF is basically sales per square feet or revenue per square feet. ये अगर 1000 square feet का कमरा है, right? So, and if you have merchandises inside this particular room, what is the revenue per sales per square feet over here? That defines how efficient or how profitable you are as a company, right? So for us, I mean, I'll tell you why again Blinkit and Zepto's of the world and quick commerce companies are much better. A DMart last year had a sales per square feet of around 40,000 bucks, 40 to 45,000 bucks. Whereas Zepto and Blinkit had a sales per square feet of 90,000 rupees plus. That means इस छोटे से स्क्वायर में अगर DMart 100 प्रोडक्ट बेच रहा है तो Zepto 200 बेच रहा है. That makes them more efficient, right? So that is what you need to run after. Because dark store is also a kind of a store, right? कस्टमर ऑनलाइन खरीद रहा है उससे, डीमार्ट ऑफलाइन बेच रहा है, कस्टमर खुद से खरीद रहा है, वहाँ पे आपके पिकर पैकर पैक कर रहे हैं. So that's the only fundamental difference, right? So I think the thing to run after in general from a dark store perspective is that, hey, compared to the most optimized offline brands and dark stores, is your SPSF much higher or not? Right now, how many orders do we need to do to be profitable is not something probably we should discuss here.
Yeah. No, interesting. One another important aspect of, I think, fashion per se is returns, which you talked about. But help us understand how are you solving it in real time, the returns aspect, especially because I think from all the other brands also that I talked about, it takes a lot of time, and customers' dissatisfaction also comes into play when the returns don't happen properly. How are you exactly solving for it?
I'm not.
Not?
I think Indian customers के लिए return solve करना impossible है. I think Indian customers are absolutely spoiled for convenience.
Yes.
If Myntra gives them 30 days return policy, Amazon gives them 30-day return policy, you can only do so much, right? And again, as I mentioned, Indian customers thrive on value for money and serviceability. You can't change certain models for them and be like कि नहीं मेरे को profitable धंधा बनाना है, मैं तो return 2 दिन में लूँगा, वो बोलेंगे नहीं खरीदेंगे, कहीं और से खरीद लेना, right? So I don't think we can solve for the return percentage, but what we solve for is, so return is just one part, right? If you look at the model of e-commerce, there's something called as RTO, there's something called as cancellations, right? In general, traditional e-commerce for fashion, right? Or in general, any e-commerce, be it kitchen or any category you pick up on Amazon or any other platform. These are not exact numbers, but I'm just giving you a roundabout number. At least in fashion per se, RTO plus return plus cancellations lead to about 45 to 50% decrement in revenue. So if a brand's clocked 600 crores worth of orders, that means they've actually analyzed, and I mean the realized revenue is just 300 crores. 300 करोड़ वापस आ गया है, राइट? कस्टमर ने वो ऑर्डर एक्सेप्ट ही नहीं किया, या कस्टमर ने रिटर्न कर दिया है, या कस्टमर ने ऑर्डर करके अगले दिन बोला यार मैं तो मस्ती में किया था, छोड़ो नहीं चाहिए, right? So this is what makes fashion in general as a very very tricky category, because in grocery you don't see this, right? In grocery it's a way, I mean the consumption model is very different for a customer. So you're like, हाँ ये products खरीदे हैं, अगर मैंने दही खरीदी है, so I want it right now, I want to consume it right now, right? In fashion it doesn't work that way. But the difference in between traditional marketplaces and a quick commerce marketplace, again from a fashion angle, right, is that we have almost negligible RTOs and cancellations. So if a customer is ordering for a crop top in the morning, or let's say a white slim shirt or a muscle fit polo in the morning, they're buying it because they want to wear it to their work, right? So the consumption is immediate. So the cancellation and return to origin is very, very low. So we only face returns of around 20%, which is very optimal from a fashion standpoint.
And what about the settlements with the merchants? Is it the same day settlements with the merchants that you guys do? Or am I going too deep into the business?
No, I mean, it's okay. So we have different settlement cycles with all brands. It can range from 20, 30 days to 40 days to 45 days, depends from brand to brand.
Got it. Let's talk about building the team as well, because as part of the startup process, one of the most important factors is getting talent, and of course Bangalore is a great place to find the talent. But how do you go about building your team? What's your hiring strategy like? Any tips that you would want to give to these people who are also probably building their startups and are in an early stage?
I think I'm also a very young founder, so for me to have a hiring philosophy like somebody, a great leader at Wipro or an Infosys would have probably not. But I think two things which I sort of look for in anybody I'm hiring. One is hunger, particularly because I think especially in a 0 to 1 sort of journey of a startup, right? You don't have the money to hire the best and the most green talent, because वो करोड़ों की सैलरी पे बैठे होंगे, आपने तो उठाए इतने करोड़ है, कहाँ से दोगे उतने पैसे, right? But you can find those people who have extreme level hunger to grow the brand and to grow with you, right? So that's one thing which I look for. And second thing which I ideally try to see, irrespective of the domain, is whether you have a knack for business building or not. Right? I think it doesn't matter whether you're a developer or whether you're a strategy guy, an EIR, or a sales guy, or a program manager, product manager. I think you need to have a little knack for business. That gives me a good sense whether this person would be a good fit or not. And from a hiring standpoint, I think everybody sitting over here should have 2 experiences in their first 5-6 years of their journey, I feel. One experience of working in a 0 to 1 company. Doesn't matter whether you make money, you lose out money, you make less money or not, but get a little bit of experience of working in a 0 to 1 sort of startup. Like my first experience was with this company called Popule. I was the first employee of that startup. The founders are also young, I was also very young, I was just graduated. sort of learned how a company grows, company fails, instant learns to pick up. And second is a corporate. A corporate experience is not a bad experience. I think working at a corporate for a couple of years teaches you how to follow processes, right? You cannot build a scalable company without having recurring processes in place. You might go from maybe 100 rupees a day to 1 crore rupees a day, but to scale it to maybe 100 crores a day, you need extreme level processes. This is a very interesting thing somebody told me at Amazon. Learn how to build processes so that you can make the most mediocre minds build a scalable company. Any founder, any business leader cannot hire rock stars every single day because there are millions of companies outside. Everybody's ready to throw money. I don't have enough money to hire maybe 2 or 3 people also over here. But I know one thing, that if I can set extremely solid recurring processes, anybody can come in at any budget and actually scale my firm the way it has to.
Brilliant. I'll now open the floor for some questions from the audience as well. If there's anybody who would want to, jump on to this conversation, ask a question to Akshay, please feel free to do that. And I think it's a great opportunity. We've got one hand out there. Can we pass the mic or? Yeah.
Hey, thanks Akshay. It's great. I think it's been 3 months for Slikk, right?
Yeah.
So the 60-minute delivery is a concept I've never heard of, but still, my question is regarding the PR. See, you have been published on most of the everything because 60 minutes delivery itself is a catchy thing, and all the magazines, and different people would jump on the to catch the story. But did you have any PR strategy before launch itself?
Of course. 5,000 रुपए लगाए थे हमने.
Okay.
We spent 5,000 bucks on PR. That's it.
That's it.
We were announcing a fundraise. We've never paid anybody for our PR. I think it's all organic users. I think one of the nicest things about launching in a city like Bangalore is that you have a very aspirational crowd in Bangalore, which is why you will see all D2C tech companies launching in Bangalore first. People are open to experimenting. And thankfully, some of those experiments went very, very well. Yeah. So people have been very nicely
That plays a big role here.
Absolutely. In your early days, word of mouth scales you much better than Meta and Google AdWords.
Correct. That's good. And all the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi Akshay.
Hey.
So you talked about I think STU or something, right? You mentioned that basically inventory movement and sales per square feet. But then with these dark stores, brands or like manufacturers also have to keep more inventory across the city, right? Like earlier, let's say they had one godown or one center where it was kept, and maybe across multiple cities. Now they have to keep more inventory so that it can be delivered faster. So will that not increase inventory cost, or how does it play out?
How?
So now they are actually keeping more inventory across. Do they have to produce more, or is it the same inventory?
Speaking of the reason, inventory अगर build हो रही है, so it's also getting sold, right?
Okay.
And the best part is it's getting sold at a faster rate. See, it doesn't matter whether inventory is kept in one place or 10 different locations. Your job is to ensure that you deliver it to a customer and make money out of it. Correct?
Yeah.
Right? Now, their inventory is still being kept at one place, let's say in Hoskote or Bhiwandi or anywhere, right? Where these are the hubs. Now they're placing some inventory in my Bombay warehouse, dark stores, some inventory in my Bangalore dark stores, right? That part of the inventory which they're building for me is actually also moving. So for them, the brand doesn't get hurt, right? The only added cost is possibly for me or the brand to ship it from one location to another, which is $2,500 or about 500 to 1,000 pieces. That's it.
Okay.
There is no other difference.